What's up, everybody? New stream, just here, just relaxing, just new stream. Let me see how I sound. I'm gonna just watch myself on YouTube because I don't know. Every time let me see how I sound online. No, I sound good. I sound good. I was just hearing myself back. Let's just watch some news. What news should I watch? Am I on my channel? Yeah, I think. Oh no, I'm on my Hector Reviews channel. I don't know if I should talk about that mass shooting in Seattle. There was a mass shooting in Seattle, Washington, at a festival. Maybe I'll talk about it. Seattle shooting. It was at the Seattle Food Festival. Three people.
Yeah. I heard about, I'd say, close to 12. It sounded a little bit like firecrackers at first. It kept took like I'd say a half a second pause, and I heard a lot more.
People started yelling, "Shooter, shooter!" And there was like a stampede of people just running. Suddenly, everything was empty, and people were freaked out.
Yeah, it says three people passed away. 3 and 4 injured, including a toddler. This is sad, America. There's always a mass shooting. It's in the AP news. Let me see. Maybe I'll watch the MS now. Well, I guess Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, is gonna meet Trump. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the video right now. Just give me a second.
Leaders in the midst of war head to the White House today for meetings with the US President Donald Trump. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will sit down with Trump to discuss efforts to end the war with Russia. And the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu returns for his 7th meeting during President Trump's second term. He last visited Washington in February, just before the US and Israel launched a joint military campaign against Iran. Well, now 5 months on, and as we enter the 6th month, the two leaders go into this meeting with differing goals about how to approach what has become an ongoing stalemate with no clear end in sight. Nick Robertson, following developments for us today, he is deployed in Jerusalem. Netanyahu very quick to point out that this is his 7th meeting since Donald Trump was re-elected. The first in-person meeting since the war with Iran, though, started February the 28th. It was before the war started that we know that Netanyahu and Trump sort of completed the planning for this joint campaign. What is, as we understand it, Benjamin Netanyahu taking in today? And perhaps more importantly, what does he want to leave Washington with this trip?
Yeah, he's carrying in the burden of dropping polls here in Israel. There are elections in 3 months' time. It's vital for him that he continues to have a strong and publicly positive relationship with President Trump when at times that relationship has been strained, not least over Lebanon, a little bit over Syria, somewhat over Gaza. And Prime Minister Netanyahu really took a political hammering at home when President Trump called a ceasefire on the war with Iran back in April. Prime Minister Netanyahu feels that there's unfinished business, feels that Iran still poses a nuclear threat, believes that under the current leadership, it's unlikely to get that problem alleviated. So he goes into this meeting wanting to get.
I had
from the
no idea
president.
that this was the first trip that they took since the Iran war started. So it's been 6 months. Yeah, 6 months since the first visit of the Iran. Yeah. So I'm guessing they're gonna visit Netanyahu's gonna visit Trump.
Strong commitments, undoubtedly, about the US continuing to press as hard and as aggressively as it has in the past about making sure that whatever nuclear deal the United States gets with Iran, it's robust, while witnessing at the same time President Trump in an absolute quandary about what to do about Iran's leverage over the Strait of Hormuz and how that weakens the US position. No easy options for the US president. So President Trump won't be looking to face a tough time from Prime Minister Netanyahu either. I mean, I think, when you listen to what President Trump says, how he describes, Prime Minister Netanyahu describes him as a great wartime prime minister. He seems to indicate that he wants to get away from a wartime, and perhaps this is no longer the era of Prime Minister Netanyahu, and that's not the image Netanyahu is going to want to come away with, and is also not going to want to get caught on the spot with President Trump, as so often visiting leaders do in the White House when the president is thrown a question about what about Prime Minister Netanyahu's displeasure with you selling or potentially going to sell F-35s to President Erdogan in Turkey. Just yesterday, President Trump said, no one tells me what to do. If that comes up, that's not going to reflect very well on the Prime Minister. So the other thing is going to want to take away is an untarnished version of a great and strong relationship with the US president.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible. Nina can't code. Interesting.
Good to have you, Nick. Nick's in Jerusalem.
My colleagues are reporting, I know you have reporting on this as well. Netanyahu plans to present Trump with fresh intelligence on the state of Iran's nuclear and military rebuilding. What are you hearing about this meeting?
So, as you said, this is the first time they will have met since the war began. And the president comes to this, he's got to feel a little bit misled by Prime Minister Netanyahu. When they first were meeting in Washington ahead of the war back in January and February of this year, Netanyahu was making the argument that a combined attack on Iran would result in the complete collapse of their government, that it would be a short war, that Israel had a plan for the replacement of the supreme leader at that time and the president of the country, and that this would just be a quick in and out at a moment of fragility in Iran. Everything about that prediction, Kate, turned out to be wrong. And now the president is somewhat trapped. He can't leave because the Strait of Hormuz is down to a trickle. There's a new threat now, of course, by the Red Sea. And the nuclear program, while buried, has almost been an afterthought for the president at this point. In fact, at moments, he has said, well, we can just sort of leave that where it is. Well, that was the cause of the war.
Yeah. And Kim, add into this now, the U.S. munition stockpile issue. I mean, the president is talking about it. He said yesterday on Air Force One, we're in very good shape, but some of the more sophisticated stuff, we'd certainly like to have more. He blamed the previous administration for sending more advanced weapons to Ukraine. He said, we have a lot of the mid-level stuff. I'd like to have more, to be honest. What are you hearing about this aspect of it, Kim?
Well, the real threat in terms of the stockpile is how fast the Patriots are getting burned through. Something like half of the 2,000 Patriot supply prior to this war, according to SIS and other analysis, has been expended. That is the stuff that you need to protect Gulf capitals, to protect U.S. bases, and yes, to protect Ukrainian cities. And it is not being replenished fast enough to meet the level of this fight. So that is a problem that military officers, according to CNN's own reporting, have stressed to Trump. We basically can't keep up. And we're, according to the U.S. intelligence community, they're not getting any sort of strategic or behavioral change out of Iran for all of these munitions expended. And that's a reality.
I'm going to go to the rush move fast.
And
I'll be back.
Trump's even talking about this.
Oh, is the video about to
Yeah,
end?
it is remarkable.
Let me watch the next CNN.
Welcome
video.
to the lead. I'm Jake Tapper. 5 months into this war with Iran, and what does
I'm
President
come
Trump
back.
have to show
I'm
for it?
gonna
Well,
refresh him.
61% of the American people disapprove, for one. 18 U.S. service members have been killed. More than 600 have been wounded. The Strait of Hormuz is largely closed. A toll on the U.S. munitions stockpile has taken place. And, of course, high gas prices at the pump. And while President Trump paused strikes this weekend after hitting Iran for 13 straight days, there is still no clear strategic advantage or plan to get out. Now, 5 months might be way too soon to declare this a quagmire, but it does not seem as though President Trump knows a clear way out of this. Oh, and that nuclear sites, those nuclear sites that Trump claimed that the U.S. obliterated last year, there are now satellite images showing Iran might be rebuilding them, including one called Pickaxe Mountain. All this culminating on the day that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with President Trump at the White House for about an hour and a half. Hours before their meeting, Trump downplayed pressure to escalate the war with Iran, underscoring a strain in the U.S.-Israeli relationship. This is what Trump said when asked on Fox before the Oval Office meeting about reports of Netanyahu's plan to share intelligence about Iran.
I don't need Bibi to tell me that. Bibi's telling me that because he wants me to stay involved. We know exactly what's going on. But no, I heard Bibi announce that. I said, why don't you just tell it to me? Why do you have to announce it to the world? I know exactly what's going on at Pickaxe. It's not a big problem. We took out their nuclear sites, and we'll have to take out Pickaxe if we don't make a deal. If we don't make a deal, we'll take it out very easily.
Trump also threatened again to destroy Iranian bridges and power plants if no deal is made.
They know I'm going to do that if they don't make a deal. The bridges are going to be gone. Literally in less than, I would say in 2 hours, most of the bridges, the major bridges will all be gone. And the power plants in 1 day. And, you know, if I can avoid doing that, I'd like to do that.
Iran and the U.S. may have stopped shooting at each other for now. As for any peace talks, however, those do not appear to be going anywhere. Joining us now is former U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Tom Nides, who served under President Biden. We should note he is also the spouse of the CNN executive. Ambassador Nides, hours before meeting with Netanyahu, President Trump put down the Israeli Prime Minister's intelligence about Iran rebuilding its nuclear sites. He said Netanyahu wants him to stay involved with the Iran war. Do you see this as a sign that Trump is trying to find a political off-ramp, perhaps even blaming Netanyahu for pushing him into this war?
Well, first of all, Jake, thanks for having me. But I think, you know, the sad part about this for the Prime Minister, he's in a cul-de-sac. He can't get out, right? He's got on one hand, he's got the Israeli people who are disappointed. They're still under an enormous amount of threat. They believe that the actions that were been taken over the last 5 months was going to lead to a peaceful resolution of the conflict, including, as he pointed out, potentially a regime change. On the other hand, he knows that President Trump wants the war to end. President Trump has been a great friend of the state of Israel, and he understands that President Trump wants this over. So do the Iranians. So we're in a very complicated place. And it's hard to imagine that 5 months ago, the Straits of Hormuz was actually open, and now we're fighting to reopen it. So again, the Prime Minister got, and oh, by the way, the Prime Minister has an election coming up in October. The complications here are immense. At the end of the day, I think all of us would like to have a peaceful resolution of this as quickly as possible.
Netanyahu described the meeting he had with Trump as one of the best conversations they've had. How much does Netanyahu need the U.S. to help fight Israel's battles?
100%. I mean, we are the most important ally to the state of Israel. Obviously, the state of Israel has their own ability to defend themselves, and it's proven over and over again. But we are the most important ally to the state of Israel, which I am proud to be part of. But that said, at the end of the day, that comes with a price. And the price is obviously you're working with President Trump. And when President Trump is making decisions, for good or for bad or for right or for wrong, the Prime Minister is going to have to listen to those decisions.
The war with Iran recently renewed fighting between Yemen's Tehran-backed Houthi rebels and Saudi Arabia. Shipping through the Bab al-Mandab Strait is now threatened, putting even more stress on the global economy. What are the risks if this truly becomes a whole new full-bore front to this U.S. war with Iran, except through proxies?
Well, listen, Jake, I think none of us want to see that happen. Listen, I think at the end of the day, it reminds me, as I harken back, if a lot of people didn't like the JCPOA, the agreement that we in the Biden administration or the Obama administration were negotiating early on. But I bet you right now today, if the JCPOA was presented to Donald Trump as was written back then, I think everyone would be very pleased to sign it. And on the day of Lindsey Graham's funeral, listen, I had enormous respect for Senator Graham. I didn't agree with him on all things, but I had enormous respect. He was pushing. We were close to getting normalization with the Saudis and really creating a new paradigm in the region. Obviously, October 7th happened, and now we are where we are today. So a lot of decisions were made, and my hope is that this will, at some point, I think President Trump wants to find an exit ramp here, that we get the Straits of Hormuz done. We can go after the nuclear, the systems to get a diplomatic answer to what needs to be resolved here.
I have to ask you about a crisis in Israel, or in the West Bank, rather, that is just...
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Focus, deep breath, here now, clear mind. Open sky, the vision realize. No fear, just light, building up the night. Let's go, rise higher, stronger, the power moving fast. We top as. Let's go, rise higher, stronger. The power moving fast. We do it. Pulse, pulse. Let's go, stay focused.
It's awful. Israel's now preparing a major military operation in the West Bank following a surge in violence. 2 Israeli soldiers, 4 Palestinians were recently killed. There's settler violence against Palestinians. Yair Lapid, the Israeli opposition leader, former prime minister, he referred to it as Jewish terrorists. I asked him how he would handle it. Take a listen.
I would send 300 police officers and 2 battalions of Borders Patrol and deal with it. First
with
of
the
all,
settlers.
With the settlers' violence. First of all, this is Jewish terror. This is a disgrace for Israel. And nobody understands why the government is not taking stronger measures.
Nobody understands why the government is not taking stronger measures. It seems to me that it's because Smotrich and Ben Gvir are part of the Netanyahu cabinet. They are zealots. They are extremists, and Netanyahu wants to stay in power. Am I wrong?
It makes me ill that this is happening. When I was ambassador, I was the person who basically sanctioned the settlers and made sure they would never get a visa to come to the United States. It is a sickening thing. We, those of us who support Israel, which I do, those of us who consider themselves as Zionists, which I do, it makes me sick to watch that happen. We need to stop it. The prime minister needs to stop it. Ben Gvir and Smotrich, hopefully that they won't be around post-October, because this kind of behavior, we don't have a point for this. This is, you can love Israel or disagree with Israel. This kind of behavior needs to stop, and we need to understand it does not make Israel safer. That's what I argue all the time. It does not make Israel safer, and it's not just the settler violence. It's many things that we're doing the Palestinian people, including the economic issues that have been written extensively about. So listen, this is a very complicated situation in the Middle East, but certainly no one should stand around and think what's going on with settler violence is any way, the appropriate action being taken.
Former U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Tom Knight, thank you so much for being here.
I think I'm gonna end the stream. So cheers, everybody. Sorry, I'm a get going. See ya. There's nothing. There was a there's probably a Ukraine thing, but I'm gonna just get going. I have to go. I'm gonna go eat. I'm gonna get going. I'll see you guys. Like and subscribe to Hector's News and Politics or Hector Politics on YouTube. Cheers. Ending the video. Cheers.